This right here is my very first homemade blue cheese. I guess that you could say that from the beginning I've loved cheese. But it wasn't until our family traveled to Europe that I gained an even greater appreciation. An appreciation that is still being cultivated even to this day with every quality cheese that I partake of. It wasn't until moving north to Montana that I even thought of making my own cheeses. Previous to living here, I had no source of raw milk that I could use. But now that I do, I think it's more than appropriate to make cheese from it. With all that said, here is my first attempt. To start off, milk of course is going to be the first ingredient. Pasteurized milk has been processed and has lost lots of the cultures that are needed for cheese to ferment. Raw milk, however, does have these cultures, although they are a bit wild and need a little boost to make sure they get on the right track. I use kefir as a starter culture. Cool enough, kefir contains a lot of the cultures that are needed to ferment cheese. It's worth mentioning that this is not store-bought, but real kefir that I ferment here at my house with my own kefir grains. Before that, the milk is heated to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, which will allow these cultures to flourish and develop for 1 hour. As you might have seen in a previous video, this is Penicillium roqueforti. That's a fun word. This is the main culture that is needed to make blue cheese what it is, and I even made it on my brother's sourdough bread. This is added following the kefir. This culture also helps the outside of the cheese get totally enveloped in a coat of blue fungus. From there I'm adding rennet, which contains the enzymes that coagulate the milk. A lot of people don't realize that these enzymes are from the fourth stomach of a calf and it helps them to digest the milk easier. These enzymes are also found in lamb, goat kids, and even babies. A lot more on that another time. 1 hour later, the milk has coagulated and is ready to be cut and stirred to release the whey. This is the most satisfying part of the process because of the nice pop that you get when you test the curd. From here, the goal is to release as much whey as possible from the curds so that they can hold their shape during aging and allow the fermentation process to take place. After stirring for a good 30 minutes, they are ready to be transferred to their forms. After 2 hours of draining, I flipped them to form the other side, and then I left them for an additional 24 hours to continue to drain. Following that, I'm salting the curds, which is the final step to extract that last little bit of whey and give the cheese a tasty flavor. I left them out for another 2 days to allow them to drain and start to dry. Following that, they finally made it to the cheese cave. Sadly, I'm not using a real cave, but rather a chest freezer that I've changed the environmental controls on. If anybody knows a cave in Montana that I can use, let me know. They will be flipped twice weekly for 2 months and develop a blue coat of mold and new flavors during this time. Now the recipe finishes there, but I wanted to experiment a little. I left it for 1 week to help it start to develop fungal growth. Then I stabbed it to allow oxygen to enter the interior of the cheese and allow blue veins to grow, and to give it a stronger blue flavor. A lot of people think that blue cheese is injected with blue veins, but this is really how it's done. During the first week of aging, the cheese developed a full blue coat of fungus, but also a very earthy, almost decomposing smell, which was very potent and alarming at first. From what I could tell, the cheese wasn't going bad, so I proceeded aging. It was stressful to have something like this happen on my first try because honestly I had no idea whether this was good or bad. Thankfully, after waiting a couple of days, the smell is starting to shift into a more natural fragrant blue cheese. After looking into it more, Penicillium roqueforti is found on things when they decompose, and so I think it maybe had something to do with that. Every morning now, one of the first things I do is check to see the progress. I really do want this cheese to be a success so that we can open up new culinary possibilities in our life. Stay tuned for more updates as we get closer to the end result.